Hi, and thank you so much for joining me for today's process video. And today I'm documenting a very special photo for me. It's of my son James, and he passed his driving test on the 12th of February, so this week. This photo was snapped by his instructor when he got home, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have it. So I trimmed it down slightly. I printed it in a 4x6 size and then trimmed a little bit off the length because there was a lot of the road showing at the front, which I just didn't need. And then I've dug through my scrap folders to bring out some teals, yellows, and black and white papers, which I'm going to use to create strips behind the photo. So these strips were all around about 10 inches. I wasn't being too precise when I cut the ends off, and they're between 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch wide. So I'm starting off with the yellow pieces. I've matted the photo with this lovely black and white Bella Besties paper, and then I'm adding a strip of that. And I've also gone through with my Hey Little Magpie dies and cut one of the bumpy borders, the large scallop, and the fractionated reel to add to the page. Sorry, I lost my thread there. It's been a long day. So I'm just going through these scraps that I pulled out from my scrap holders, as I mentioned, and just cutting these strips down to add behind the photo. I didn't have a huge plan in mind, but I knew that I wanted to use these strips to mat the photo onto and then use that fractionated reel to add some elements at the bottom right hand corner of the photo. But that's about as far as I got. You'll see I do also pull out an LE Studio stamp and some of my Florence alphabets from Bella Boulevard, which have been poorly neglected for a little while, so it was nice to pull those out again. So I'm just about getting there now with all these strips. I do ignore those last few pieces of paper that are on my desk there. I didn't really want to introduce all the more grungy blacks and whites and greys that I've got there, so I just stuck with the ones that I've cut out here. And then I'm going to roughly arrange them just to check that I'm happy with the width that I've got, and then I'm going to go through each paper and distress them with my fingernails. I didn't want a fully distressed look using the edge distresser, but I just wanted to curl up those edges a little bit to add them before adding them to the page. So using my ATG to stick those down, and I don't want them all to be flat to the page, so I am moving them as I stick them down. Some are going underneath, some are going on top, and they're not completely vertical, they are at an angle. So it doesn't take too long, but it does take a little bit of time adding this distressing, but I do like the overall effect that it gives to the layout, so it was worth taking that time to do that. So James has been desperate to pass his test. We got him a car a while ago so that we could take him out practicing, but in reality that hasn't happened an awful lot. He's got such a busy life with his weightlifting and college and running his business. But it was really nice that he had that car there on the drive when he got home, so we quickly arranged his insurance, and he's been out ever since, driving around Warrington and getting used to it. And it's just so fun to see him growing up in front of our eyes. Amelia's still learning. James was having 2 hours a week, but Amelia's schedule meant that she could only have 1 hour lesson a week, so it's taking a little bit longer, but she's enjoying having her brother there to run her about, so that's good. And she'll pass before we know it, I'm sure. So continuing to distress those edges, almost done, and then I can carry on embellishing the rest of the layout. And I wanted to make sure that I had the yellows sort of evenly spread, not next to each other. And the same with the teals. I didn't want too many next to each other. So I was just being careful the way I was laying them down on the page. And I wanted this bumpy border to be tucked underneath that black and white, just to find the edge of the black and white paper, because without that, the white on white sort of disappeared into the background. And the other one is just going to sit on that blue spotty paper, as you can see there. So I realised that I wanted to add that as my last paper and then pop this one on top so that the yellows have separation. And I remembered to do that before sticking the blue down and then having to peel it up to tuck that yellow underneath. So that's how it's going to look. Here are those die cuts that I was talking about. I thought I was going to layer them like that, but in fact I moved the smaller piece over to the left, and I'm much happier with that. So I'm using my Sticks 2 25mm foam pads just to mat the photo onto, just because there's a lot of texture there. I wanted to create a little bit of height behind those textured strips. And when I was in my drawer grabbing my foam pads, I spotted this tape, so decided to add some washi tape to the strips as well. So I've just gone in with the teal and then the black at the end. This was a washi tape that we stocked at Hey Little Magpie, but I've been struggling to get any more stock, but I will continue to try. Hopefully I'll be able to get it again. It's a really, really nice washi. So there are those bits down, and then I'm going to peel off the backing on the photo and get that stuck down, along with those fractionated film wheels. There we go. And just bringing those in, and as I say, I moved that smaller one to the left. I'm much happier with the positioning there. So just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to stick those down. Definitely the best form of adhesive to stick these down over that texture of the strips that I've got going on. And then I'm going to bring in my T-square ruler and my Florence alphabets to get my title stuck down, and I'm just going to pop down "You Did It." I had to use some other letters to create the eyes. I'd run out of eyes, and I wanted an exclamation mark as well, so I had to get a little bit creative. But the eyes for "Did It," I used a J and just cut the top piece off the J, thinking that I could possibly use that J again, but in reality I know I'm not going to, so I don't use that many J's in my journaling, so I just disposed of the tail end. And then there are some dots on the sheet, so I just use that for the dot of the eye. So there's the "did," and then I do exactly the same for the word "it." Just trimming a little bit off. I hadn't quite trimmed it correctly first time. And then I'm going to write "it." So again, just trimming that top bit off. I was a bit more careful this time. Made sure that I trimmed everything off so it did look like a straight line. And then for the exclamation mark, I use one of the sides of a W, because I realised I had loads of W's left and I wanted a line that was slightly longer for the exclamation mark. So just deciding how to go at it with my scissors. And there we go. And then again using one of those dots. And I kept that piece of the W in case I needed to use that for something else. So now I'm coming in with some LE Studio stamps. These are the everyday phrases, and they're just perfect for a layout like this. So I've chosen various phrases. I've got happiness, big smiles, love this, and then I'll come in. So I'm using my black soot ink to add those words. And then when they're down, I'm going to come in with yellow and put "so happy" about the page as well. So just bringing in a different colour. So first of all, those first phrases that I mentioned, and I'm just dotting them about, almost like confetti really, just around the edges of these strips, and some on top of the strips and some above and below the strips as well. So just trying to get a little bit of texture about the page. So this is the last one before I switch colour and words, of course. So this is big smiles. Just going down now. And you can see how I've overlapped those strips along the left-hand side as well, just for continuity really, so that it didn't look like it was all just around the edge, but it looks like it's a part of the design. So now just having a look to see what other words I can find, and this is where I find the "so happy." So I pull out my fossilised amber, which is the perfect yellow for this sort of layout, a really bright sunshiny yellow, and just stamp "so happy" about the page as well. And then once that's down, I'm going to pull out my candied apple, which is a beautiful bright red, and I'm going to use that to stamp the hearts strip a couple of times from the same stamp set. So unfortunately the ring light is casting a glare on top of that stamp piece that I put there, but you can probably see in the background the driving instructor has her Austin sign on top of the car, and it's got the red for the L plate, and then Austin is the name in yellow. So I just wanted to bring those colours in just subtly, not too much, but just a little bit. So now those are down, I spotted the hearts on these Florence alphabets, so I've added a couple of black on top of the strips, and then I'm going to add some yellow ones next to the word "so happy," just in 3 places on the right hand side there. And I'm just focusing mainly on the small hearts, but I do use one big heart towards the bottom. And next I'm bringing out my hole reinforced punch, and I'm just going to use some of those as confetti about the page as well. So I've stamped out 5, and I just bend these in half and add adhesive to one half so that the other half is raised from the page. So it just again creates a little bit of movement on there. So just dotting those about and getting them stuck down. Almost there. And then once that's down, of course I need my tab to add my date. So just grabbing one that I pre-punched from black cardstock using my EK Success tab punch, and then using my roller date stamp on some scrap white card just to stamp that date, which was 12th of February, so it was Wednesday of this week. And I'll just trim that out and stick that onto the black tab. And then the last thing to do after that is to add some black splatters. I just fancied some black splatters on this. So I grabbed my Tim Holtz watercolour pencils, water the black down, and just use a very small paintbrush to add really delicate little splatters all the way around. And that's the layout done. So I hope I've provided some inspiration. Why not choose a colour palette yourself and just get creative with some strips behind your page. Thank you so much for joining me, and I shall see you again soon. Bye.